This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Today's episode is brought to you by SalesCred Pro, the strategic resource for B2B sales that fortifies your credibility and accelerates the trust building needed for building successful business relationships. Get your free 7-day trial now at salescred.com/PRO. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop, and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
Hey, Lee, our guest today, so pleasant and well-adjusted, and yet he says that overcoming addiction, depression, and anxiety is one of the things that led him to create an amazing virtual assistance company. I'm really interested to talk to him today.
Yeah, sometimes the diamond, is made by pressure. And overcoming that adversity and everything like that is really what separates the entrepreneurs that are successful from those who are not. So we're going to learn a lot about that today, along with, when we should consider offshoring versus hiring domestically, and some other great things then to help salespeople, help small businesses thrive, but also help managers of small business grow their small businesses into larger businesses.
Welcome to Manage Smarter, everyone. I am Audrey Strong. I'm Vice President of Communications here at Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith. I am the CEO and founder of Sales Fuel.
And so it's Justin Nelson. And I would say, Justin, you're our serial entrepreneur. I'm going to give you that title.
I love it. I will take it.
Founder and CEO of Sphere Rocket VA, an industry-leading virtual workforce company. Since 2020, Sphere Rocket has placed more than 5,000 virtual assistants, serving 1,500 plus growing small businesses. You started in real estate at age 17, running marketing, lead gen, inside sales. And after getting licensed, you became a top producing agent. 320,000 in gross commissions the first year. Wow, ambitious. Using social media and marketing growth hacks. And then you started in 2019 coaching new and veteran agents to create leverage in their businesses. And then you saw the need for a service to help small business owners hire and effectively utilize virtual workers. And that was apparent to you. So Sphere Rocket was born. And so, but you say with all of that, what got us was the overcoming addiction, depression, and anxiety and broken relationships along the way. That happens. I get it. But I mean, that's a big bowl of drama. But Absolutely. How did that come to, bring you where you are today, which is you've been smiling since you came into the Zoom room here. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, when we first get into a business, whether it's a small business or a big business or whatever size of business, it's something new. It's something that takes a lot of our hours, our time, our energy, our resources. And, at 16, 17 years old, the only thing I really had to distract me was football or school or sports. And so
girls,
yeah, if I didn't have didn't have a lot of responsibilities. And so when I wanted to work 12, 16, 17 hour days, it was no problem because nothing was really relying on me outside of just some small minuscule things. And so I carried that over into 18, 19, 20. I was like, I can work 16-hour days. I can push through this. I can beat my head against the wall and I'll finally, crack a deal or I'll do X, Y, Z. And what I didn't realize is I was comparing myself to those that had been in the industry 30 years. I'm like, oh man, they're doing 30 home sales a quarter and I'm at 2. But I was able to get myself through that hard work of 12, 16-hour days at the same level they were. But I did a lot of really bad comparison where I didn't look at the business structure. I was just looking at the final big number on stage. And really, I had a great work ethic, but I ended up crashing and burning because you can't sustain that for several years. And then I started to get into dating and, trying to create a family and, trying to actually spend some of the money that I had created. And when I looked around, I was like, well, there's no one really to spend this money with because, I haven't talked to friends in 4 years. So, that's kind of where, it kind of came to a head. And, ultimately where I started using virtual assistants was when I was like, oh, everybody that makes a lot of money and has a good life at the same time, they have leverage.
Mm-hmm. So you like
Yeah, but they have
balance.
other people to do the kind of stuff that you really don't like doing yourself.
Absolutely.
What are the top functions of virtual assistants? I mean, I imagine that I think what it does, but you're saying it can even reorder groceries out of my fridge, and that was new to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, really at the definition, I always kind of start kind of nerdy. Like a definition of a virtual assistant is any assistant that's virtual, right? So like 10 years ago, if you asked someone what a virtual assistant was, someone maybe would have said Upwork or Fiverr or, someone overseas for a really low cost that I can do some mini projects for me, right? I send in an order, it comes back, and that's really what a majority of businesses have. However, when you look at large corporations like IBM, Uber, Airbnb, they've been in the Philippines and outsourcing offshore for 20 plus years. I mean, my dad 25 years ago was outsourcing in the United States. And so really a virtual assistant is just someone that's virtual. And so I always say, like, it doesn't have to be offshore to get a virtual assistant. You can have someone stateside that's a virtual assistant. I kind of jokingly say in 2020 when COVID hit, everybody that had an in-person assistant, they all magically got a virtual assistant. They just happened to be a stateside virtual assistant. And so, I like to say that really a virtual assistant can do anything that doesn't require a physical action and presence. And even then, a virtual assistant can coordinate some of those physical things. So, a virtual assistant for me helps me get my house cleaned. Now you're like, well, how's that possible? Well, they help, orchestrate the cleaner, make sure that they actually showed up on time. They log into my cameras, they orchestrate that the cleaner got paid, they orchestrate that the cleaner actually left my house at some time. And so, all the way to the more typical ones, right? Virtual assistants to help me with my social media management, my bookkeeping, my, different things like that. So obviously, I know you mentioned earlier, we'll probably talk a little bit about like why a virtual assistant offshore versus onshore people. But overall, a virtual assistant can do anything, that doesn't require a physical presence.
So how is the world of virtual assistants changing with the advent of AI? Because AI can also take over some of those tasks, and that's an even more virtual assistant.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me give you a great example of this. Like there's an AI out there called Opus AI, OPUS. And if you took this recording today of our video and you plugged it in there, it's going to make you 50 to 100 short clips of our recording today. It will do everything. It will do the subtitles. It'll just make it look beautiful. And someone's like, well, does that replace your video editing team? Because I have a whole bunch of virtual assistants on my team that do our video editing, our social media. And the answer is, well, someone still has to hit the record button here. Someone still has to go plug that into the AI. Someone then has to take it out of the AI and download it out of the AI. And so I still have those virtual assistants on my staff. I still need them because it can't just happen on its own yet. But now I'm able to take that same person and do 3 to 4 times the amount of work. So for us, we're actually really embracing teaching our virtual assistants how to use AI. So that way they're smarter, can work faster, more efficient. But at this point in time in AI still needs a quarterback. Like, I'm a big sports fan. Like, it still needs someone to direct it and piece it together and take the output you get from it and do something with it.
The Tennessee Titans need a quarterback too.
They do. They definitely do.
I have a question about this. So if I'm a small business person and you want me to use a VA, I guess I wonder what my time spent is going to be managing it so that it does properly versus if I just did it by myself, which is the mindset of, the sole proprietors and the small agencies and things like that.
Yeah. So here's what I say. I come from real estate. So whenever you go and buy a home, right, like, you're going to have to put out money out of your pocket. And the reason why you go and make a down payment, you're like, oh, I just spent 10 grand on a down payment. In your bank account, you're going to feel negative. Like, you're going to feel like you just lost money, but that's you're sacrificing that initial lost money for a future equity gain, a future, investment. It's the same thing with time and really VAs or employees or in-person staff. Like, if you're used to kind of doing it all on your own, it's going to feel negative at the start, right? You're going to feel like you're doing and showing someone things that you could have just knocked out already. But what I have to look at is, sure, could I order my own groceries? Yes. Is me showing my VA how to do it the first time going to take me half an hour? Yes. However, how many half an hours times 12 months did I save if they finally get it and nail it? And so someone I admired in the real estate world by the name of Tim Heil, he always says, leverage requires you to take 2 steps backwards to go 8 forward. The problem with that with most people is we're not patient enough, or the business is so much on us to do the lead gen and the closing that taking those 2 steps backwards hurts our income. And we just really tighten up and we go, all right, I'm not going to leverage anymore. I'm just going to go back to doing lead gen and trying to close more sales and more deals. And we don't take that step back. And so
you said there's an exercise that you can do with a GoPro that is a tip that you have. Okay. So let's say I'm Audrey Little LLC and I'm buying what you're selling. So how do I know what I want my virtual assistant to do? What is this exercise that I do that I know what I want it to do?
Absolutely. So so the exercise breaks things into 3 categories. So the exercise is kind of fun. It's a little extreme. So I don't expect everybody to do this, but you can still do a version of it. A little bit. Yeah. You can still do a version
because I know what's coming.
So what I did originally when I kind of had this, I had an extreme coach and she was like, hey, just strap a GoPro to yourself for 2 weeks, record everything you do. And then we're going to watch all the footage and fast forward motion. And we're just going to see where you're wasting time. And so, and a great example of this is I'd wake up in the morning, and the first thing my GoPro would capture was I would be scrolling on my phone on Facebook and I was interacting, liking, commenting. And at the time I was in real estate. So on Facebook, I had 5,000 friends. They all lived in my city. I was just trying to keep my name out in front of them and stay in contact. And it was taking me on average about 42.5 minutes to do that. And it was good. It had a good ROI. But then I realized, and she said, hey, if you got a VA from the Philippines for $3 an hour to log into your Facebook every morning, they can log in at 7:30 a.m. and they can heart, interact, and comment on everything as if they're you. Now, obviously, I'm extreme. Some people are like, well, I want it to be me and things like that. But for me, I was willing to give up that task. And so now I knew that with that 30, 45 minutes in the morning that I saved, I could do whatever I wanted to with it. I could work more. I could work out. I could spend it with relationships. Like I don't have kids right now, but if I had kids, I would have spent that 45 minutes, maybe more with my kids. So you kind of get to choose what you replace it with. But that exercise really brings to the forefront of the 3 buckets, which is what we teach. The first bucket is the GoPro showed me things that I am doing and I love to do, but should not be doing, so for example, in real estate is I was running open houses and I love designing the flyers. I loved making them pretty and look good. But my coach is like, hey, you are way smarter and you are way more efficient at closing deals than you are designing a flyer. Like, let's get someone at $3, $4 an hour to do it. Or, even an in-person assistant. Like you could have someone at 12, 15, 20 do it, and it's still going to be a better use of your time. So the first bucket is things I'm already doing and love to do, but shouldn't be doing. So that's bucket number 1. Now let's be clear. There are some things that I shouldn't be doing and I love doing that I still do just because it's my business and I'm going to keep doing it. Right. So that's bucket number 1 is things I'm doing and love, but shouldn't be doing. The second bucket is things that I'm doing that I hate. So an example of this was my accounting. At the end of each day, I wouldn't keep up with my numbers. I wouldn't keep up with my receipts. And so, an example that the GoPro showed is I just kept throwing away receipts or leaving them at the restaurant table. So now I just take a picture of it. That was a task for the assistant to go, oh, I'm going to go into Justin's photos every day and look for receipts, storage them, put them in their months, get into the accountant, etc. So again, the second bucket is things I am doing, but that I don't like doing or that I'm inconsistent.
Nobody likes doing that. Can I just say?
No one likes doing it. And then the third bucket was probably the one that gets most people. It's the things that I'm not doing that I know that I should be doing. And so she read it. She's like, Justin, you just closed 10 deals last month. Did you call any of those people 30 days later and be like, hey, we love you. You need anything from us? Like, thank you for your business. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not. So she's like, hey, I just know your personality. You're probably never going to do that. But if you love your people and you want referrals and you want them to stay top of mind, let's just have your VA do it. Let's get you a great person that sounds great on the phone. Let's have them love on those people forever and ever. So now after a year, you got 120 people in your database that you closed. Well, now I got someone calling them every single month going, hey, Justin just wanted me to check in on you. Justin just wanted me to check in on you. So that's the extreme exercise I think you guys were referring to.
So interesting.
Audrey mentioned in the open that you use a lot of social media hacks to help grow your business. I'm kind of curious about like what are some of the best ones that you used, and maybe you could pass those along.
Yeah. So one of the best ones I do with my virtual assistants is I have them, like I said, I have them go through it every single day and they like and interact with everything. And some people are like, well, that's kind of impersonal, Justin. How do you keep up with people? Like, if you see Audrey in person and you commented something, how do you not get crisscrossed or get caught that someone else was doing it for you? And so one of the things that we love to do is we love to be super personalized, right? So for example, my VAs after a podcast like this, they'll go on your page, Audrey, your page, Lee, and they'll look you up, they'll interact with you. And now what they're going to be looking for the next 90 days is they're going to be looking for any big moments in your life that you post about, right? Like if you get a big guest on your podcast, or you have a big win in your business, or, you're promoting a new product, like my VA is going to take that screenshot, put it in a folder that I get to read every single week. And now it takes my 5,000 friends and all the things, and it takes the things that are most important to me right now, and it puts them in a smaller condensed version. Now I can create a deeper relationship with you guys, whether it's me like, oh, now I know more about what Sales Fuel does. I can refer you clients, that could benefit from your product. And so now it just kind of starts creating symbiotic relationships that way. And so I'd say that's probably the biggest one.
How many photos do you get in a week to review?
Usually about 200.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But again, it could be people's like, hey, some of them is like, hey, Jerry's dad died. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know Jerry. So like, I'm not going to send Jerry a gift or a condolence. So it's really fast. I just kind of drag and drop. It kind of works like on a Trello board. I just go, we're not going to do anything with that. Not going to do anything. And then I drag it into different categories. Like one's like a condolence card section. Okay, let's send a card. Now, as soon as I drag it over into that section, the VA is actually the one that's going to go and create the card, get it sent off, and do all of that. So it takes what's normally a few hour task into 2 minutes.
I'm guessing you use the same VAs over and over again because they know you, as opposed to just using random ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's one thing Sphere Rocket specializes in, is when we give someone a virtual assistant, they're working for that person full time. It's a 40-hour a week gig, so it's $640 a month roughly. So for me, every time I bring on a VA, they're only coming onto my staff when they're full time. I mean, sometimes positions are part time if I really need someone part time, and there's options for that. But yeah, I mean, that VA is working for me solely. Which kind of leads me to like what we're doing here. Like my VAs, you can't see it in my office because I'm at my home office, but I have a screen in my office, and my VA team, they're not just a team that I just send things to and get things back. Like my 10 VAs that I work with closely, I have about 100 on my personal team. The 10 that I work with closely every single day, they just sit on a Zoom room all day with me. It feels like we're at the office. If we feel like we're at the office.
They're holding up a card to you right now saying, hey, don't forget, mention the website.
Exactly. And it's like, if you guys were like, hey, Justin, send me a headshot, I could literally look over here and I could go, hey, Michelle, can we send a headshot? Like they're like, if when you use VAs, you have to make it feel like it's an office environment. They have to be sitting there with you. Yeah, they have to be sitting there with you 8 to 5. Too many people go, oh, my VA didn't work because I sent them an email and they didn't respond for 2 hours. And then they send an email back, and then you don't respond because you're busy as a business owner. You just spent 8 hours paying them 8 hours, and you got like 2 messages back and forth. Like, my 10 VAs, they're all in a group chat on Facebook Messenger. We use Slack. They're on video all day with me. So you have to treat them like they're on your team full time, and not just a Fiverr or an Upwork where you're just putting in an order. Like they're truly fully integrated team members of yours.
Our remotes here, we line up the office hours with the mothership in the Eastern time zone. Yep. So for example, when I was based in Denver, I worked 7 to 3 because that was 9 to 5. So getting them on the same work hours, even if they're overseas, is mandatory, right?
And we have an employee in Taiwan or whatever. And so it's like, we know if we want to include him, we have to have meetings in the morning. Yep. Even because he's still awake.
Yeah. Absolutely. And VAs can be from anywhere, right? Like if you get VAs from South America, because really the only reason why you would really go overseas with virtual assistants, and this is what we specialize in, is if you're trying to reduce cost, right? If you have $1 gazillion in your budget and you can afford to hire everybody in the US, absolutely. Like why wouldn't you? But in the Philippines, you can get the same level of talent just for a reduced cost. And so I say that to say, in the Philippines, like all of our team works on our schedule. So I overpay a little bit and our organization overpays. So that way they're working their night shift, our daytime. So that it lines up perfectly.
Okay. Well, let me drill down on that for a second. So why would it be better than to hire people from the US versus offshore if you could afford it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'm a little biased to the virtual assistants because I think people, in the Philippines and my team work harder than 99% of US based labor. So I truly believe that. But at the same time, like, I think it comes down to what you want. If you want that in-person environment, you want to walk into an office and physically shake the hands of 20 people that are, and you want to have group huddles in there and you want to high five someone, and that's your personality and how you want your business run. And you just want people to be able to walk into the door of your business if you're retail and just be able to talk to someone and shake their hand. I mean, I think that's always a better option if you can do that, right? But now we're in a new virtual world. I think a lot of people are going to be really, and this is what we specialize in, hybrid, right? Like, and that's what we are. That's what we are. I still have 10 to 20 US based staff at any given time, but then we hybrid it with a virtual, staff. A lot of times when people think virtual assistants, they think that companies are just trying to offshore, right? Like, we think there's a big difference between taking a corporation, making a lot of money and trying to reduce costs and just deleting everybody and taking it overseas. And that's a lot different than, there's companies that exist like that purely offshore. They come into a corporation, wipe everybody out and replace it overseas. That's not really what I love to do. That's not really what we do at all. It's our job is to help the small business owner, and really of any size, go from, hey, I have 3 people now, but we want to hire more in the US eventually. But my next hire, I need a marketing manager, but I'm not ready for a $75,000 a year salary. Let's start with a $10,000 a year marketing manager in the Philippines, and let's bridge that gap to get there. Because that marketing manager in the Philippines can make you an extra $100,000, $200,000 a year if you do it right through social media and things like that.
Or the marketing manager that you hired for $70,000 is complaining, there's not enough hours in the day. It's like, and whatever. It's like, okay, let's get you some help.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing is, if you have like really awesome employees, instead of having to try and hire another one to do their same position, allow them and equip them to be leaders, right? Equip that person to be like, awesome, I pay you $75,000 a year and you're awesome. And you're telling me you're out of time. Let's teach you leadership skills to grow you in our company. And let me give you a virtual assistant or 2 or 3, and you start leading your own mini team. And as you guys know, as you start growing a company, if you can have little mini teams being grown within your organization, it relieves you as the CEO from having to do everything. And it just creates much more momentum.
This is all super interesting and a lot of good ideas and things I never thought of. It's sphererocketva.com. And how do you want people to reach out to you?
Yeah, so the best way to reach out to us is actually going to hireleverage.com. We give discounts for those on podcast. So HIRE leverage.com. And those all go to me directly, so I can chat with anybody that wants to learn a little bit more about VAs. Virtual assistants are my passion that I stumbled into. I always get the question, how did you start a VA company in the Philippines? Like, it came from real estate, it came from watching people fail. And, if I'm being honest with you guys now, my passion is not as much VAs. And what I mean by that, like, my passion now is watching the mom get to go to her kid's soccer game because someone's making her Facebook post for her, right? Or watching the dad get to go to his daughter's choir concert because he's not having to stay an extra hour to do his bookkeeping. Like, that's my passion now. And the passion is just facilitated, and most people can get some of that time back to spend it and not make the mistakes I made or fix the mistakes they've made in the past by, leveraging out, other people's time.
And the Sphere and Sphere Rocket is like the new thing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, I got a funny story about that if we have 10 seconds. I was in Vegas for a conference 2 weeks ago, and we were standing in the Mandalay Bay, and all of our team had Sphere Rocket shirts on. And so people kept asking us if we were giving tours of the Sphere. And so
they're on the wrong end of the strip for that. The Sphere's on the other end of the strip.
Exactly. I was like, that's on the north side. And they're like, what? And I was like, so, because no one knows what Sphere Rocket is by itself. So
thanks for coming on the show. This has been great. Justin, congrats on the business. Great stuff.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.